Studying abroad is an exciting adventure, but let's be real, it's not always easy. From navigating visa applications to dealing with culture shock, studying abroad comes with its fair share of challenges. In this video, I'm taking you through my journey as an international student, sharing the highs, the lows, and the lessons I learned along the way. If you're planning to study abroad, this is your ultimate survival guide. The journey begins, embracing the adventure of studying abroad. Leaving home is never easy. It's a mix of excitement, nerves, and uncertainty. I remember standing at the airport, wondering if I was making the right choice. But one thing for sure, this journey changes you in ways you never expect. 1. Navigating the Visa Maze, a 2025 guide for international students in Australia. The visa process? Oh, it's no joke. If you think it's just filling out a few forms and waiting for approval, think again. In 2025, Australian visa requirements have become even stricter, with more documentation, financial checks, and processing delays. If you're planning to study in Australia, you need to be strategic and proactive to avoid setbacks. Step 1. Understanding the right visa type. For most international students, the student visa, subclass 500, is the one you need. This visa allows you to stay in Australia for the duration of your studies, work part-time, and access some student benefits. However, if you're bringing dependents, like a spouse or children, make sure to check the conditions for them as well. Right pointing backhand index pro tip. Stay updated on the latest visa requirements by regularly checking the official Australian Government Department of Home Affairs website. Visa rules change frequently, and relying on outdated information can cost you time and money. Step 2. Organizing key documents. A single missing document can delay or even lead to the rejection of your visa. In 2025, the Australian government has strengthened its genuine temporary entrant, GTE, requirements, meaning you must clearly prove that. White heavy check mark you genuinely intend to study in Australia, not just using the visa as a way to immigrate. White heavy check mark you have sufficient funds to support yourself. White heavy check mark you meet English language proficiency requirements. Here's a checklist of the essential documents you'll need for your student visa application. Confirmation of enrollment. This is issued by your university after you accept your offer and pay the required deposit. You can't apply for a visa without this. Proof of financial capacity. In 2025, you need to show at least 24,500 Australian dollars per year for living expenses plus tuition fees. If you have dependents, the amount increases. You can prove this through bank statements, a financial guarantee from a sponsor, proof of a scholarship, English language proficiency, IELTS, TOEFL, or PTE scores may be required unless you are from an English-speaking country or studied in English previously. Overseas student health cover, OSHC, this is mandatory, and your visa won't be approved without it. Some students get scammed by fake providers, so make sure to buy from an approved insurer. Genuine temporary entrant, GDE, statement. This is a personal statement explaining your study intentions, ties to your home country, and future plans. Be honest and specific. Generic answers can lead to rejection. Passport. Ensure it's valid for your entire stay plus at least 6 months beyond your planned departure date to avoid complications. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Submit a well-structured GDE statement. Many students get rejected because their statement lacks detail. Clearly explain why you chose this university, how the course aligns with your career, and what you plan to do after graduation. Step 3. Applying at the right time. Visa processing times in 2025 can range from 4 to 12 weeks, depending on the country you're applying from. Delays are common, so apply at least 3 to 4 months before your course starts. If your visa is delayed, you might miss your first semester or have to defer admission. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. If your visa is stuck in processing, contact your university's International Student Office. They can provide letters of support or check for application updates. Step 4. Preparing for the visa interview, if required. Some students may be asked to attend an interview to assess their GDE statement and financial capacity. If you get called for an interview, White heavy checkmark, be confident and truthful. White heavy checkmark, clearly explain why you chose Australia and your specific course. White heavy checkmark, demonstrate strong ties to your home country, e.g., family, job prospects, to prove you don't plan to stay permanently. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Practice with a friend or mentor beforehand to ensure your answers are clear and convincing. Step 5. After visa approval. Next steps. Once your visa is granted, it's time to double-check your visa conditions in your visa grant notification letter. Key things to look for. Work hours. As of 2025, international students can work 48 hours per fortnight during the semester and unlimited hours during breaks. Attendance and academic performance. Poor attendance or failing subjects can lead to visa cancellation. Health insurance. OSHC must be maintained throughout your stay. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Keep a digital copy of your visa grant letter on your phone and email. It's essential for entry at Australian immigration and for many formalities after arrival. Common mistakes to avoid. Crossmark waiting too long to apply, causing visa delays. Crossmark submitting incomplete documents. Crossmark not meeting the financial requirements. Crossmark writing a weak GDE statement. Crossmark buying fake OSHC insurance. Final advice for 2025 applicants. The visa process is stressful, but with careful planning, you can avoid common pitfalls. Start early, triple-check your paperwork, and seek help if needed. Many universities offer free visa assistance. Use it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, don't worry. Every international student goes through this. Just take it step by step, and soon, you'll be boarding that flight to Australia, ready for an incredible new chapter. 2 landing announce. The culture shock. Stepping off the plane, I thought I was ready for Australia. I had read the blogs, watched the videos, and talked to a few people who had already studied here. But the reality? It hit me like a wave. Australia was a whole new world. Accents and communication differences. First things first, the accents. I thought I knew enough English to get by. But let me tell you, Australian English is its own thing. You'll hear things like "good day, mate," or "how's it going," and not understand what they're talking about. Add in all the slang like arvo for afternoon, thongs for flip-flops, and brekkie for breakfast, and suddenly, your brain has to work overtime just to catch up. At first, I felt embarrassed when I didn't understand someone. But I quickly learned that people here are really patient, and they are used to explaining things again if needed. Don't be afraid to ask someone to slow down or repeat something. Everyone has been there at some point. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. If you're confused by a word or phrase, just ask. Aussies are generally friendly and happy to explain. Food, the land of the unknown. Food was another shock. I thought I knew what to expect. After all, how different could food be, right? But the truth is, Australian cuisine has its own unique twists. You'll find the typical international foods like pizza and pasta, but there are some Aussie staples that took me by surprise. For instance, Vegemite, a spread made from yeast extract, is a huge part of the Australian diet, but it's an acquired taste. It's salty, savory, and definitely not for everyone. I also had to adjust to the fact that portions are often smaller than what I was used to, and there's a huge focus on fresh, healthy food. Supermarkets are packed with fresh fruits, veggies, and a wide variety of health-conscious options. For me, it was a bit of a culture shock because I wasn't used to such a focus on healthy eating. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Be adventurous with food, but don't hesitate to ask for recommendations. Start with popular Aussie snacks like meat pies or Tim Tams. They are delicious and give you a taste of local flavor. The pace of life and lifestyle. One of the first things I noticed about life in Australia is how laid back the culture is. People are more relaxed, and there's a real focus on work-life balance. For example, during weekends, people aren't glued to their phones or rushing around. They're enjoying nature, going to the beach, or hanging out with friends. Coming from a fast-paced environment, I initially felt like I was falling behind in terms of productivity. But after a while, I began to embrace the slower pace. In Australia, it's all about enjoying the moment, whether it's going to a barbecue, which is a big deal here, or spending the day at a park, you'll soon find that Aussies are big on spending quality time with loved ones. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Don't rush. Take time to enjoy the little things. Whether it's grabbing a coffee with a friend or just sitting on the beach, embrace the laid-back lifestyle. The work environment. The Australian workplace culture was also a huge adjustment. In my home country, there's a lot of hierarchy. Bosses are often seen as authoritative figures. But in Australia, the work environment is far more egalitarian. Hey, it's normal to call your boss by their first name, and they often encourage an open-door policy. People are more collaborative, and communication is casual yet professional. However, this doesn't mean Australians aren't hard workers. Aussies are extremely efficient, but they also value work-life balance and respect personal time. This was something I had to learn quickly. If you're invited to a barbecue or social event, it's not rude to leave work at a decent hour. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. In the workplace, be open, approachable, and willing to collaborate. It's all about mutual respect, and the culture encourages you to speak up and share ideas. Public transport and getting around. Another thing I had to adjust to was public transport. In some cities, like Melbourne and Sydney, public transport is the way to go. Trains, buses, and trams are reliable, but not always as punctual as you might expect. Initially, I found it a bit frustrating when trains would be delayed or cancelled, but I quickly learned to plan ahead, check transport apps for updates, and use the time to relax or listen to music. In more remote areas, you'll find that getting around can be trickier without a car. The distances in Australia are huge, so public transport might not always be an option if you're living outside the city. In these cases, consider using rideshare services like Uber or even renting a car if needed. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Get an Opal card, Sydney, or Mikey card, Melbourne, for easy access to public transport, and always plan extra travel time in case of delays. Making friends and building your community. The most important lesson I learned? Aussies are friendly, but they don't make friends quickly. At first, I felt a bit isolated, especially since I was still adjusting to the culture and language. But once I started joining clubs, attending university events, and getting involved with student organizations, I started meeting people who became close friends. It's important to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to talk to locals or other international students. Joining study groups or sports clubs is a great way to meet people, build friendships, and feel more at home. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Be patient with the process of building connections. Aussies tend to have strong existing friend groups, but once you're in, you're in. Final thoughts. Culture shock is real. It's a big change, and you'll face many surprises. But as long as you keep an open mind, ask questions, and don't rush the process, you'll adjust faster than you think. Over time, the unique accents, unfamiliar food, laid-back lifestyle, and friendly people will start to feel like home. So, embrace the differences, and let Australia surprise you, because the adventure's just beginning. Free Finding Your Feet in University Life, a 2025 guide for international students. University life in Australia isn't just about attending lectures and studying for exams. It's about navigating a completely new environment, understanding the system, and building a support network. When I first arrived, I was focused on surviving the academic workload, but I quickly realized that finding my feet in this new environment required more than just keeping up with my studies. It was about connecting with the right resources and people. Getting to know your campus. When you first step onto your university campus, it can feel overwhelming. There's so much going on, and it's easy to feel like you're missing something important. But trust me, the key is exploring and getting familiar with the layout early on. Universities often have large campuses, and you'll need to know where key places are, like the library, student support centers, and common areas. On your first few days, take the time to attend orientation sessions. These are designed to help new students, especially internationals, understand how the university functions and where to find help. You'll get a map of the campus, details on your student card, and information about various services available. Don't skip these events. Even if you're a bit tired from the long flight or the culture shock, Attending orientation will make your university life smoother in the long run. Using student support services. One of the most valuable resources that I wish I'd used more from the beginning is the student support services offered by most universities. These services cover everything from academic support and study skills workshops to mental health counseling and career advice. The Student Services Center is usually the best place to start, as they can direct you to various resources. At first, I was hesitant to ask for help because I didn't want to seem like I couldn't handle things. But eventually, I realized that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Whether it was struggling with a tough subject, feeling homesick, or dealing with stress, student support services are there for you. Use them. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Look out for free study skills workshops that universities often run for first-year students. They'll teach you how to effectively study, manage time, and prepare for exams, all crucial skills to succeed in Australia's university system. Mental health and well-being. Mental health is a significant aspect of university life, and in 2025, universities are more focused on offering mental health support than ever before. As an international student, you might face homesickness, isolation, or stress that can impact your academic performance and overall well-being. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, but the important thing is to seek help when you need it. Most universities have counseling services, and many offer 24/7 helplines if you need to talk to someone urgently. There are also support groups and workshops for stress management, mindfulness, and dealing with homesickness. You're not alone in this. There are always resources available to support you. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Check if your overseas student health cover, OSHC, includes mental health services. Many insurance providers offer counseling or mental health support as part of the plan, and you can use these services free of charge. Making the most of campus events and clubs. One of the biggest ways I found to feel at home in my new university life was by getting involved in campus clubs and events. From cultural clubs to sports teams, your university is likely to have a wide range of student organizations that cater to almost every interest. Joining these groups is a great way to meet people, build lasting friendships, and immerse yourself in university culture outside the classroom. I joined the International Student Association early on, and it was a great way to connect with other international students who were going through the same challenges. Many universities also host welcome events for international students to meet people and explore the city. Don't hesitate to sign up for these events and activities. They're an excellent way to build your support network and make your university experience more enjoyable. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Look for cultural clubs or interest-based groups at your university's student union or online. Whether you're into sports, music, or technology, there's a club for you. Building a support system. University life can sometimes feel lonely, especially if you're living far from home. That's why it's so important to build a support system from day one. Start by connecting with your flatmates, joining student groups, or attending social events. It's easy to get caught up in academics, but make sure you also take time to build your social circle. Having a support system makes the tough days much more manageable. You'll have friends to hang out with, classmates to study with, and people to turn to when things get overwhelming. It takes time, but the effort is well worth it. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Try to make friends both within and outside your own cultural group. Meeting people from different backgrounds will not only help you adjust better, but will also enrich your overall experience in Australia. Final thoughts. University life is a journey, and you don't have to walk it alone. Finding your feet in a new environment takes time, but by connecting with resources, reaching out to peers, and seeking help when needed, you'll quickly realize that everything becomes more manageable. The first few months may be challenging, but remember, it gets easier once you build a routine and a strong support system. Embrace the process, take it one step at a time, and soon you'll be thriving in your university life in Australia. 4 academic struggles and triumphs. Navigating the challenges of studying abroad in 2025. As an international student, academic life in Australia can be both rewarding and challenging. While the pursuit of a degree is exciting, the hurdles that come with studying in a new language and adjusting to a different academic system can make it overwhelming at times. In this section, I'll walk you through some of the toughest challenges I faced and how I overcame them to come out stronger and more confident. The language barrier, more than just speaking English. When I first arrived in Australia, I thought that because I could speak English fluently, I'd be fine. But the reality? Studying field time in English is a whole different ballgame. It's not just about understanding spoken language, but also writing essays, reading academic articles, and participating in class discussions. The language barrier hit me harder than I expected, especially when it came to academic writing. Australian universities expect a high level of academic writing, and I quickly realized that the way I wrote essays in my home country was very different from what was required here. There are specific formats, referencing styles, and even ways of structuring arguments that I had to learn. On top of that, understanding lectures presented its own set of challenges. Australian lecturers speak fast, sometimes use local slang, and there's often a lot of information to process in a short time. I remember sitting in class, nodding along, but feeling like I didn't fully understand what was going on. But here's the good news. It gets better with time. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. If you're struggling with understanding accents or specific words in lectures, don't hesitate to ask your professors or classmates for clarification. You can also record lectures, with permission, and listen to them later to catch things you might have missed. As I continued my studies, I made use of language support programs offered by most universities. These programs provide workshops and tutoring specifically designed to help international students improve their academic English skills. I took advantage of every opportunity for extra practice, whether it was attending writing workshops or speaking with a tutor about my essays. The key was practice, and the more I work on it, the more confident I became. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Don't feel embarrassed to seek out language support. Many international students go through the same struggles, and these services are there to help you succeed. Balancing studies and finances. The reality of student life. Let's be real. Being an international student is expensive. Between tuition fees, accommodation, textbooks, and daily expenses, it's easy to feel overwhelmed when you realize just how much you're spending each month. During my first semester, I quickly learned that smart financial planning is essential for survival in Australia. I'll be honest, I struggled with budgeting at first. I didn't track my spending closely, and by the end of the month, I found myself short on money. I had to get creative. I started keeping a detailed budget to track my income and expenses, cutting back on non-essentials, and looking for ways to save money on groceries and transport. But budgeting alone wasn't enough. I needed to find ways to supplement my income. Scholarships, part-time jobs, and even some freelance work became lifesavers for me. Here's what I learned. Scholarships. Many universities offer scholarships for international students, whether they are merit-based or need-based. Take the time to apply for every scholarship that you're eligible for. This can seriously reduce your financial burden. Part-time jobs. Working part-time is a great way to make extra money while gaining experience. Australia allows international students to work up to 40 hours per fortnight during the semester and unlimited hours during breaks. However, finding a job that suits your schedule can be tough. I started working at a local cafe, and while the pay wasn't glamorous, it helped cover basic expenses like food and transport. Budgeting tips. Download apps like Pocketbook or Expensify to track your expenses and set savings goals. I also learned to use textbooks and shop at discount supermarkets to save on study materials and groceries. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Don't wait until your funds are low to start looking for a job or applying for scholarships. The earlier you start, the more options you'll have to reduce your financial stress. The importance of networking, unlocking opportunities. One mistake I made early on, not networking enough. In my first semester, I focused solely on my studies and didn't think about building relationships with professors, fellow students, or professionals in my field. Big mistake. Networking isn't just about making connections for the future. It can open doors right here and now. By meeting people and having conversations, You get access to valuable opportunities, advice, and even job openings. Some of the best opportunities one received came from talking to the right people at the right time, whether it was professors offering internship suggestions or fellow students sharing information about job openings. Networking was crucial to my success. Here's what I learned about networking in Australia. Be proactive. Don't wait for someone to reach out to you. Attend university events, workshops, and social gatherings where you can meet people. A lot of networking happens outside the classroom, so take advantage of every opportunity. Engage with professors. In Australia, professors are generally approachable and open to discussing academic and career advice. Make a point to attend office hours, ask questions about course material, and express interest in your field of study. Building relationships with professors can lead to research opportunities, mentorship, and even job referrals. Use LinkedIn. In 2025, LinkedIn is a powerful tool. I was hesitant at first, but once I started connecting with professionals, alumni, and classmates, I quickly saw the benefits. LinkedIn is an excellent way to keep track of industry trends and connect with people who might help you with your career goals. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is updated with your academic achievements and skills, and always follow up with people you meet. A simple email or message can turn a one-time connection into a long-term opportunity. Final thoughts. Academic struggles are inevitable when studying abroad, but they are not insurmountable. The key is to ask for help, manage your finances wisely, and network actively. Overcoming the language barrier takes time and practice, but the more you immerse yourself in the academic environment, the better you'll get. Balancing studies and finances can be stressful, but with the right tools, you can manage your budget effectively and find ways to make ends meet. Networking, on the other hand, will be your gateway to countless opportunities, so don't underestimate the power of a simple conversation. Embrace the struggles because they'll lead to triumphs that make your journey as an international student all the more rewarding. 5. Living on your own, mastering the art of independence. Studying abroad isn't just about hitting the books and attending lectures. It's about learning to live independently in a new country, and that means facing some challenges head-on. From finding the right place to live to adjusting to a completely different culture, living on your own in Australia tests your adaptability and resilience. But trust me, once you learn to master these challenges, you'll come out of it more self-reliant and confident than ever. Here's how I navigated the ups and downs of living alone in Australia. Accommodation adventures, the search for the perfect home. Finding the right place to live as an international student is one of the most stressful and crucial parts of your journey. When I first arrived in Australia, I was eager to settle in and rushed into a rental without doing my homework. Let's just say, it didn't end well. I had a small, overpriced room with a landlord who was hard to get in touch with, and the house was further from campus than I had anticipated. My biggest mistake? Not visiting the place beforehand. I recommend always viewing properties in person or virtually, if possible, before signing anything. Photos can be deceiving, and location is everything. You don't want to end up stuck in a long commute with limited access to shops, cafes, or public transport. Here are some tips for finding the right accommodation in Australia. Research thoroughly. Use local housing websites like Domain, realestate.com.au, or Facebook Marketplace to get a sense of rental prices in different areas. Know your budget. Be clear on how much you can afford to pay each week or month. Don't forget to factor in additional costs like utilities, internet, and transport. Understand the lease. Read the lease carefully before signing, and make sure you know your rights as a tenant. I recommend researching the Residential Tenancies Act in your state to understand your rights regarding rent increases, bond refunds, and property maintenance. Consider shared accommodation. If you're on a tight budget, shared accommodation can be a great way to save money. Websites like flatmates.com.au or Gumtree often list rooms in shared houses or apartments. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Take your time finding accommodation, and don't be afraid to ask questions about the property. If something seems off, trust your instincts. Cultural immersion and beyond. Embracing the Aussie way of life. Australia is full of surprises, and not all of them are immediately obvious. From the quirky local slang to the peculiar food choices, immersing yourself in Aussie culture can be exciting but also challenging. I remember my first time trying Vegemite. Let's just say, it's not for everyone, and I'm still trying to figure out why it's so beloved. But this is all part of cultural immersion, and as uncomfortable as it might be at first, it's essential to getting the full Aussie experience. One of the best things I did was step out of my comfort zone. Sure, there were times when I felt awkward or out of place, but embracing new experiences helped me learn and grow. For example, I got involved in local events, tried new foods, and learned about Australian traditions, from beach barbecues to AFL, Australian Football League, games. These experiences helped me connect with locals and build friendships that made me feel more at home. Here's how you can get the most out of your cultural immersion in Australia. Say yes to new things. Whether it's trying a new dish, attending a local event, or participating in Australian sports, open yourself to new experiences. You'll find they become some of the most memorable moments of your time abroad. Engage with locals. Australian people are generally friendly and laid back. Don't be shy to strike up conversations at the coffee shop, ask for recommendations, or invite people to hang out. It's a great way to practice your English and build your network. Embrace the lifestyle. Australia has a strong outdoor culture, whether it's going to the beach, hiking, or taking part in barbecues. Get involved in these activities to experience the local way of life. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. Local friends are your best resource for cultural immersion. They'll help you navigate any confusion or cultural shock and introduce you to things you never would have tried on your own. Homesickness and finding your tribe. Building your support system. Let's face it, homesickness is inevitable. There were days when I missed my family, food, and the familiarity of home so much that it felt overwhelming. The distance and time zone differences can make it tough to stay in touch regularly, and at times, it felt like I was too far away from everything I knew. But here's the thing. Homesickness doesn't last forever, and finding a support system is the key to overcoming it. The first step? Finding your tribe, friends and support groups who understand what you're going through. Whether it's fellow international students, local students, or even online communities, having people who can relate to your struggles can make all the difference. Here's what helped me cope with homesickness. Join student groups and clubs. Most universities offer cultural clubs, sports teams, or hobby groups that allow you to connect with people who share your interests. These groups are a great way to meet new people and make friends. Stay connected with home. While it's important to build new connections, don't forget about your family and friends back home. Schedule regular video calls or send messages to keep in touch and share your experiences. Give yourself time. It's normal to feel homesick at first, but over time, you'll adjust. The more you get involved in university life and make local connections, the easier it will become. White right pointing backhand index pro tip. If you're feeling homesick, reach out to someone, whether it's a friend, family member, or a university support counselor. Talking about your feelings is one of the best ways to feel better. Final thoughts. Living on your own in Australia is a learning curve, but it's also one of the most rewarding parts of studying abroad. Finding the right accommodation, immersing yourself in Aussie culture, and dealing with homesickness are all part of the journey. As you navigate these challenges, remember that you're not alone. There's a whole support system waiting for you, from fellow students to university resources. Embrace the experience. Step outside your comfort zone, and you'll come to see that living independently is one of the most empowering aspects of your time abroad. Top tips for success and avoiding common mistakes. Small blue diamond proactive planning. Don't leave things to the last minute. Whether it's choosing a university, sorting out accommodation, or applying for a visa, plan ahead and do your research. Small blue diamond managing expectations and embracing growth. Studying abroad isn't all Instagram moments. There will be struggles, and that's okay. The key is to stay adaptable, learn from mistakes, and keep pushing forward. Small blue diamond harnessing resources. Use every resource available. Student support offices, mentorship programs, career advisors, and cultural clubs. They exist to help you, so take advantage of them. Final thoughts? Small Blue Diamond, the transformative power of international education. Looking back, studying abroad wasn't just about getting a degree. It changed me. It made me stronger, more independent, and ready for whatever comes next. Small Blue Diamond, encouragement and words of wisdom. If you're about to start this journey, know this: it won't always be easy, but it will be worth it. Stay open-minded, be resilient, and don't be afraid to ask for help. If this video helped you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real talk about studying abroad. Drop a comment below. What's your biggest worry about studying overseas? Let's help each other out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.